Are you ready to redefine what it means to thrive at any age? Welcome to Age is Just a Number with BJ and Ruth. In your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, you deserve to live your best life. Say goodbye to preconceived notions and let's shatter those stereotypes together. Get ready to own your vitality because age, well, that's just a number.
Hey everybody, it's BJ.
And Ruth.
And we're back talking about health and fitness. And you know what, today, I thought it'd be great, Ruth, if we could talk about some of the most common fitness myths.
And there are quite a few of them.
There are quite a few. And, you know, jokingly, as we were getting ready, I said, we're going to talk about myths. And she said, we're going to talk about the myth. And I said, well, the myth is Sergio Oliva. And Ruth looked at me like who are you talking about? Well, Sergio Oliva was a golden era bodybuilder. So he's a contemporary of Arnold back in the 70s. If you get a chance, look up some pictures of him. He just looked awesome. He had the arms. He didn't have really peaked biceps, but he had massive arms. If I recall, his arms were the same size as his head, his upper arms.
His upper arms.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he looked good. He looked good. So, but we're not.
Must have been before my day.
Yeah, well, you know,
the older one,
say what you will. You're old. Well, I was going to say what you will, but I'm the younger of the two of us, right? So I'm also a historian. So when we started, we being my buddy back in, I don't know, about somewhere in the late 80s when we started training, I found out everything there was to find out.
You're one of those, whereas
right?
I'm the more of the just do it, and
right.
I would just put my head down and do it,
right.
and you would.
And I just did it. But as I was doing it, I wanted to find out about.
You want to know the why, the how.
Yeah, no, maybe, but more so, I was just interested in Steve Reeves, for example. I remember even as a kid, they were all in reruns and they were all replays and stuff. But seeing Steve Reeves as Hercules or all of those guys out of that era. So after Steve Reeves, then there's Reg Park, then comes Arnold and Sergio Oliva and Serge Nubret. If you ever see a picture of Serge Nubret, to me, one of the best physiques, just spectacular. Frank Zane, all those guys out of that era, Dave Draper, and then of course everything that happened with the 80s bodybuilders that was, you know, Lee Haney and Lee Labrada and all those guys. So anyway, we digress. But let's talk about some of the most common fitness myths. So this first one, this will be great because I know, Ruth, you heard this one and you were told this one.
I haven't read the list yet, so you're going to throw all these at me. So
That's correct. I'm actually, because Ruth was reading my notes the last time.
Maybe.
So she was looking over my shoulder.
Now
but you know what?
Side, so I can't do that.
But you know, the other thing is Ruth can't actually read without her glasses
no,
on.
I can't.
So it wouldn't make a difference anyway. However, right? However, okay.
First one.
So this is one I know that you have heard.
Okay.
Is lifting weights will make a person big. And blocky, especially women.
That is so untrue. Biggest myth out there that I've ever heard.
Yeah. 100%. Because there's a part to it where you're going to gain some muscle. Absolutely.
Absolutely. But what people miss is it's so hard for us as women. We don't have the testosterone naturally that the men carry. So that's a major hormone for a building block for gaining muscle. We don't have it. We're higher in estrogen. So for us to gain muscle is very difficult and more challenging. But what a lot of people get so caught up in is in that myth, and they don't want to lift any weights and they don't want to really weight train. And yet what we know is that the more lean muscle mass you hold on your body, the higher your metabolism fires.
100%.
And so you want that. You want it there so that you're firing, and so then therefore you're fat burning.
Yeah, and really it's as simple as this. Muscle is metabolically active.
Yeah.
So that means that at rest, if you have more muscles, you have better ability or a higher ability to burn calories.
Burn calories, yeah.
Okay.
At rest.
Right.
At rest.
At rest.
Yeah.
So there's another part to that is people say, well, I don't want to end up looking like the guys in the magazines on this, the big time Olympia guys. Let me tell you, first and foremost, you are not going to end up looking like that. First of all, you need to have pretty freakish genetics to get to where they are. And number two, you need to be prepared to do what they're doing to get there. And I can assure you, for most people, you are not prepared to do that. Not the expense, not the health risks, and everything else that's part of that equation.
Yeah.
So what is it going to do? You know what? Lifting weights is going to make your physique stronger, 100%. You're going to look better, feel better. There are training things that you can do to avoid becoming bulky. A lot of that comes back to what you're eating.
It's what you're eating and how you're actually training. So if you, what we know as bodybuilders is if you want to increase your muscle and grow and get bigger, you're going to work with as heavy a weight as you possibly can handle with a shorter rep. So maybe 3 to 5 reps per set. But when you're just wanting to tone and more of a cardio component, you're going to choose a much lighter weight and you're going to do like a 15 to 20 rep set.
Sure. And I would say this even today, and I'm in a lean bulk phase right now, getting ready for competing in 2024 in November. I'm doing everything basically somewhere between 6 to 10 reps. So, and I know that works for me. Okay. I think when I get too low in the powerlifting numbers, like the 3 to 5, I'm going to get stronger, but not necessarily the quality of muscle and the look of muscle that I'm after. So that's a long way to say you're not going to end up in a big and blocky kind of state. You have to look at how you're training
and how you're eating,
all of it.
How you're eating, and it all works together. And so people really need to, toss that one into the garbage can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for number 2?
Okay.
All right. Number 2 is I worked out today so I can eat whatever I want.
No, you can never out-train a bad diet.
That's very good.
You can't. You cannot out-train a bad diet. If you want to look at it, the big picture, I often think of it as diet is 80% of the whole picture. Training is 20%. So you don't get to do that. You'll hear us talking about our treats and our ice cream and our pizza. Well, yeah, but we don't eat that every day.
And it's part of the plan.
It's part of the plan.
Or let me put it this way, it's part of our lifestyle.
Yeah.
If after I eat, I don't get into this, or pardon me, if after I train, I don't get into this thing of thinking, well, I can eat whatever.
Yeah, no.
Now,
you can't.
because you can't.
You can't.
You cannot out-train a bad diet.
You can't. And so if you're in that mindset thinking that you can, you're just spinning your wheels. You're going into the gym and then thinking, well, I've worked out, I can eat anything I want. You're never going to achieve your fitness goals. You're not.
Yep.
It's just, all you're doing is creating a really big wall that you're going to have to climb over.
Right. Very good. Okay. Number 3. Muscle will turn into fat if I stop training.
No.
No. Let me start with this. Number 1, first and foremost, muscle cannot turn into fat, and fat cannot turn into muscle. Okay? You can decrease the amount of muscle, and decrease the size of your muscle fibers and increase your fat, but one doesn't become the other.
No. It doesn't just melt into, no, it doesn't work that way.
So what happens when you stop training, if you were to stop for, let's say, a couple of weeks, your muscles will not actually deteriorate. They might actually really enjoy 2 weeks off, depending on how your training is or what you're doing. Because it's good to take a break once in a while for your muscles also. But if there's more break than training, then that's not so good either.
No.
But if you continue to not train, your muscles will start to atrophy. They'll start to get smaller.
Yeah.
And if you continue to eat out of proportion to your calorie expenditure, your activity level, guess what? Your fat stores are going to increase.
The body will always store fat first. And so if If you're eating more than you're putting out in energy, you will store fat.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that muscle does not turn into fat. What's the next? Okay, here it is. I'm saving the best, what I think is one of the best ones for last.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't feel sore, you didn't train hard enough. Not true.
It's not true, although, okay.
You know, mentally that can be a thing. Gee, I don't
Mentally,
really.
it's my thing. But
I don't really feel sore today, so I didn't have a good workout. But guess what? If I know I worked out and I left everything on the floor, on the gym floor, I worked out hard, I put in my time, and I may not be sore the next day, but here's what will be my gauge of progress. The next time I train that body part, I'll see that, hey, my lifts are stronger, my reps are higher. Guess what? That means I made enough progress the week before that my body responded to the stress of the training by increasing my muscle so that I could be stronger, have more reps, or just increase the weight, or maybe both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not based on am I sore. Now, I don't mind being sore, right? And a lot of times you can end up being sore because you're doing a different exercise than you're used to.
You hit something new and
right?
it shocked the body.
Or just a different angle even.
Yeah.
Right?
Angles, weights, it reps, it all
Sure.
factors in.
But my daughter's a teenager and she was out running around with her youth group one night and the next day she said, Dad, my legs are sore. I was like, yeah, that's great. That means you use some muscles that you, in a way that you don't normally use them. So a lot of times that's what soreness can be.
Yes.
It's just using muscles in a different way than you've done before.
Yeah.
So, and I think the other thing is as we become more experienced in your training, you're less likely to be sore from just a normal workout.
Well, no, exactly, because your body will adjust and get used to the level of fitness that you're throwing at it. So, when you first start, you might you feel more soreness, and then as you're training or as you're working out or as you're maintaining your fitness level, your body adjusts, and so you don't feel it anymore.
Yeah, but you can still continue to make progress. And the best measure of progress, I'm going to come back to, is your training log.
Yes.
Right? And because your training log doesn't lie unless you were lying when you wrote down the numbers.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So your training log will be the thing that gives you that. Okay, the last one that we're going to talk about today is the myth of spot reduction. What does that mean? It means this. If I just do a whole bunch of sit-ups, I'm going to have a six-pack.
Yeah, no.
If I just do crunchies, I'm going to have a six-pack. I'm going to rock a six-pack all summer because I've just done like hundreds of crunchies. Isn't that all there is to it?
No.
So for guys, what you need to understand is if you want to have a six-pack that people can see, you're looking at basically 10% body fat or less. Maybe at 12% you can still sort of see it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the top is 12%, I think. And the only way you arrive at 10% body fat is not from doing a whole bunch of sit-ups. It's a combination of diet, training, and cardio.
Yeah.
So
bring the body fat down.
Yeah.
Off the whole body.
Right. And it has to come off the whole thing. You can't just do a whole bunch of sit-ups and have your abs show.
Yeah.
I mean, your abs might show because they're going to develop, right? Your chest might look more full because it is more full. The muscles have developed. But if you want to see separation in your chest, if you want to see, muscularity in your back, that's all a body fat thing once you've got something to show.
Right.
Right?
So often women that I know, especially those who are starting a fitness journey, will often, see a photo in a magazine of this woman and I want to look like her. Well, you're going to look like your version of her.
Right.
And we don't know what that is until we actually go through. You don't know what that is until you go through the process.
Sure. Yeah. But it's good to have. We've talked about goals and the importance of goals and your why and your compelling future.
Yeah.
So it's good to have those goals to say, I want to look like
It's great. Yeah.
This or my version of this or
but just
that.
know this is going to be your unique version
Right.
of that. It's not like going to get your hair done and you give them a picture and they copy it. This is your own body and your own makeup, and so your body will respond in its unique way based on your DNA and how you're made up.
Sure. So I would synopsize the whole spot reduction myth this way, that there are no shortcuts to having a healthy physique, looking good, and having a healthy body fat level. There are probably some things that you can do or not do to expedite the process, but there are no shortcuts. There's no kind of magic pill. Well, there are some pills and things you can take, but they're not necessarily healthy.
They're not magic. They don't work.
Yeah, and some of them are actually...
They're marketed really well.
Yeah, and there are some things and ways that you can do things that are quite unhealthy.
Yes, there are.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and we are not, as we've said before, that's not our angle here, and we're not proponents of any drug-assisted training or anything along those lines. If you are in a position where you're taking certain medications and things like that with your doctor, that's a different thing entirely. I think we've said this before too, is it's important to just know where you're at from a health perspective. So it's a good idea to go and talk to your doctor. Right?
Definitely.
So we just,
know
so
where
you
you're
know,
at, know where you want to be. And when you're setting goals, make them realistic, and then and be open-minded. Let your body show you how it's going to end up, and be open to that.
Yeah. So that's it for today. We wanted to hit some of those fitness myths for you today, and we'll be bringing on some different content going forward. We have some interviews that we're going to be bringing on, some great guests to talk about their health and fitness journey, or just some great tools for you to use in your health and fitness journey. Please take a minute, subscribe to the channel, like the video, just helps us get the word out. And if you know people who would benefit from what we're talking about, please send them a link or tell them about the channel. We are building a community. I think that's what we're talking about here is.
And BJ keeps asking me for recipes because I've got them. I've got tons of them. Over my 14 years of doing this, I've got some great ones.
Yeah,
so.
And I think the thing to add to that, Ruth, is they're not just recipes. One, they're healthy recipes.
They're healthy.
But two, you have to take some things into account when you cook, right? Because of is it gluten you don't do?
I'm gluten intolerant, so not celiac, but gluten intolerant, and so I factor that in when I cook.
So we're going to be working on bringing out a Age is Just a Number cookbook, but we are going to bring on some recipes just to make them available through the channel and through as we develop a website and things like that also. So please put the word out there. We're growing the channel, and our first goal is we want to get over 100 subscribers and then continue on from there.
It's a great goal.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. See you next time.